Again, this is about our institute, which is a new institute. This is why I would like to introduce also the setting of the institute, which is, I think, important for understanding also the details that will follow up later. And so I will give an institute overview about the organization, what kind of lectures we are giving, what kind of projects we are running. And then I will present also the individual departments that participate to the institute. It's the Department of Data Science and Engineering, the Department of Artificial Intelligence, and the Colocation Center for IT Research and Education, and the so-called Colocation Center. You will learn actually what all of this means. And let me start with a introductory slide about well, the two poles, university, academia on the one side and industry on the other side, and how this can be a win-win situation. So for the university, there's an advantage by cooperation with industry, that you get access to practical and applied knowledge and real-life use cases for mainly research projects, but also from teaching. So this access is very important because, of course, universities want to prepare students for future work life, and as such, it is an advantage to have industry already participating in the education. For research, university can get access to data, empirical data from industry. I will give some examples later on what this means actually. But also financing can come from industry, which goes beyond the regular money that's available for universities. So you can create better infrastructure and more interesting work. And then when a research result is ready, then there can be also a partnership between industry and university to hand over well, prototypes from academia to industry to make products out of it, or to spin it off in a new company together with industry, where industry could be, for example, a first customer for this new spin-off. And then, of course, on the other side, for the industry, and I think you can see my pointer here, it's also beneficial because you get access to the newest insight from basic research, which is provided usually by universities. You can source highly qualified project staff to work on joint projects that normally it's not easy to get in industry. And you can also access talent for recruiting, which means on the other hand, if you're a student, you get also early access to industry partners who might be your employer later on. And the industry can participate in an ecosystem, which means usually a university campus is very open with many participants, also many companies, and you have the university as a trusted third party for such an ecosystem, and this is a big advantage also. So the university is not so closed in own ideas, but gets access to other ideas. And then to make a long story short, it's a win-win situation if you do it correctly. So it doesn't mean that industry is just buying things, but if both sides give, then the result is actually more than the individual participants, but a bigger ecosystem that is worth much more than the individual participants. And then very importantly, you can combine scientific rigor with practical relevance without compromising both sides. Now, the word innovation is very prominent, so let me quickly say what an innovation actually is. So a typical result of research is an invention. It's not an innovation yet, invention. And an invention that generates impact is called innovation. And usually such an impact can be market impact by creating a product. It can be also other impact, which is not commercial. But an innovation is always something that is more than just a mere invention. And this systematic creation of innovations out of inventions is called innovation management and entrepreneurship. And at our institute, we teach core computer science, but we enrich the whole curriculum also by teaching and applying methods of innovation management and of entrepreneurship. So this is special about our institute. And so we don't diminish existing computer science activities, but we augment them actually by innovation and entrepreneurship activities. So how does our daily life look like? We have industry endowed departments. So we have our AI department is partially sponsored by Bosch, and our data science and engineering department is partially sponsored by Deutsche Telekom, Magyar Telekom, which means we have additional project money from these companies, but also use cases, and have a standing relationship that goes beyond individual projects with those companies. But we also have bundled project work, which is not really one department sponsored by one industry partner. It's we have the IKK department, which bundles several activities of the Faculty of Informatics with several industry partners, but on project basis. So a project means industry partner and ELTE meet for one project, which lasts maybe 3 years, and then after that the collaboration is over unless you start a new project. And we do this also, which is a bit more lightweight than having a real department that is sponsored. This is a department sponsorship is a little bit like a marriage, and this is rather like a friendship, let's say. We also cooperate within a European institute, that's the EIT, European Institute of Innovation and Technology. I will tell later on what this is. We also have a co-working space with industry partners, that's the CLC, also here on campus. You will see a map later on. We sometimes have teachers from industry, or we have joint appointments of teachers and professors that come from industry who have an industry contract, but also a university contract. We provide internships in industry for students like you. And we have joint startups that we create out of the university together with industry. And we have several joint events, meetups. Especially when COVID will be over, you can see that there's a lively meeting scene, actually meeting on campus for events that are social events, actually with the goal of creating something out of industry, university activities. What I've just said also has an org chart. We have the institute leadership team, and then we have, well, those 3 departments that carry out computer science research. It's this data science department led by Thomas Horvath. Then we have the AI department, which is new. So the head of department, the position is still open. But we have an existing group, the Neural Information Processing Group by Andras Lörenz. I will show you examples from this group, which is part of the department. And then we have the Colocation Center for IT Research and Education by Melinda Todt, which is, this is core computer science education and research. And then we have the Center for Digital Innovation and Cooperation, which is horizontal to this, which is doing much of this innovation management work and entrepreneurship work together with the departments. Here are some faces. This is myself, actually. If you see myself on your small picture, here's another small picture, actually. Here's Mate Teifel, who's my deputy director. Here's Imola Costa, who's the executive assistant and project manager in the institute, and Imola is participating in this session here, actually. And here are the department heads of department. Thomas Horvath is the head of the data science department, Andras Lörenz for the AI group, Neural Information Processing group, and Melinda Todt for the IKK department. Our location is, when there's no COVID, we work here in Bogdan Fiuza in the Colocation Center, or in the north building of ELTE, where we are on the 7th floor. So this is the north building, and here's an inside view of the Colocation Center, which is a creative space, actually, when there's no lecture and less students and teaching going on. Then we have beanbags here. We have some breakout rooms where actually the creative atmosphere is created. And people from industry are working there also together on projects with people from the university together with the students. We are currently building a new location for the Department of AI together with Bosch. And this is the layout plan of part of this. And we're designing this also in a fancy way in the north building, but it's not ready yet. Hopefully by the end of this year, it will be ready. In the institute, we are responsible also for 3 of the most successful master specializations. That's on artificial intelligence, and data science and engineering and autonomous systems. And so if you're a bachelor student and are looking for a master's degree in those areas, then the institute will be responsible for your curricula. But of course, our teachers teach also in the bachelor's courses and also in the doctoral school, and across all specializations. So a prominent example is in the bachelor's course for on machine learning. It's Anders Lorenz who's giving this, and there we have more than 300 bachelor students who follow Anders's lecture. Here are logos from industry partners that we work together with. Bosch, it's quite interesting. It's a German company, but has lots of facilities here in Hungary. The biggest production plants of Bosch worldwide are in Hungary. And there's also research and development going on that side. A lot about cars, actually. Bosch is a provider of car equipment to major companies like BMW or Daimler, Mercedes, Benz. But also to international companies that are not from Germany, and they are served by products that are generated here in Hungary. So Bosch Hungary is actually a quite big player. We have Deutsche Telekom laboratories, so the R&D lab, which is located in Berlin, and T-Labs is a sponsor of the data science department, but working closely together with Magyar Telekom here. We work together with Ericsson. They are located with their R&D department also in Infopark, where ELTE is. We work together with OTP Bank on not on core banking actually, but also on some business ventures that they are doing together with us. We are working, for example, with Mediso, medical imaging systems company, and with E-Group, which is a software consulting company. But there are also more cooperation than this, but those are the most prominent ones. So let me step into the individual departments now. So I stopped talking about the whole institute. Now I talk about the individual departments, so what's going on there, and that's quite interesting. And for example, the data science and engineering department, which is sponsored by Deutsche Telekom Innovation Laboratories. And it's all about data science. And we do their basic and applied research in telecommunications, but also in educational and tutoring systems, but some things around farming. I will have a use case actually around farming, but also for the food industry and the finance industry. Here's just a picture as an example. So those are motorways here in Hungary, and what we are doing is an analysis of traffic based on the mobile cell information of the drivers who are usually having mobile phones on them. So we are running analysis here, how the traffic situation is. It's a little bit related to what you maybe know through Google Maps, but this is a different research that we're doing here and different analyses, of course. But this is something that we do together with Magyar Telekom, for example. Another completely different example is automatic processing of documents. Here's an invoice, Samla. And what we do is an automatic recognition of important data, like the date, like the sender, like the text number, and the due date, and the sum. So this we do with pattern recognition, actually, to optimize processing of invoices. So scanned invoices, actually. So those are not PDFs where you have the explicit writing on it, but it's scanned pictures, actually, that we're having here. And then I have an example about from the precision farming, and you will see it on the next slide, actually, what this is all about. No, in the slide after the next slide. This was just an overview of the institute, but let me highlight also some lectures that are given by this institute. For example, open source technologies for real-time data analytics, stream mining, introduction to data science, data mining and machine learning, data mining in smart systems or machine learning, data science lab, which is a practice, not a lecture, but only a practice, or laboratory projects, which are more or less not a real curriculum, but it's case by case what we do together with industry, for example. But as a student, you can participate in such projects as well. Now, here's the slide about this precision farming. It's about wine making, actually. You are probably aware that Hungary is a very good wine producer. And in the EU, there's a unified wine classification system, which is more or less about quality assurance for the quality of wine. And especially the regions of the highest quality are have very strict rules that have to be enforced, actually, or quality assured by independent authorities. For example, in the area of Tokaj, which is here on the map, it is not allowed actually to grow red wine types. Actually, in Tokaj, only white wine can be grown there because red wine influences also the climate, well, not really the climate, but insects and other biology, actually the biological ecosystem, in a way that this would compromise the white wines. So you're not allowed to grow red grapes there. But also the production process is quality assured, and by the H&T department, it is enforced. And this enforcement is actually not easy to be done. Actually, people regularly travel there and check actually how the growing process is. But actually, for young vines, actually in the vineyard, young plants, it's not very easy for juniors to understand really what grape is this. For example, there's a very placative example: is it a white wine or a red wine grape? And you need senior specialists, and there are very few of such specialists in Hungary. This is why, with the help of AI, we can classify those things automatically. So, and the goal is to have leaves of a wine plant, and they are different. So the grapes are different, actually, and you can see this already on the leaves of the plant. And here's an approach, actually, by the department, how to classify those plants. It goes like this. Here's a picture of a plant, and you have to find the contour of this. So the result is here. It's possible with easy filters to do this. And then in the next point, in the next part, you have to find the reference point of a leaf, which is this point here. You can find it also by using pattern recognition. Find this point, and then measure the distance of this point to the contour, but for all angles. So going around the leaf in all angles, 360 degrees, and then you have a series of distances that are characteristic for this leaf, actually. And what we are doing there then is called time series, and it's known from the financial industry or for speech recognition of time-based signals, comparing them with a template and checking if the template is of the same character as this example that you're just seeing. We use the same algorithms, although there's no time here, actually, but we use the same algorithms, but instead of time, we just use the angle here. And it's called template matching. And we have a database of all of the different classes of wine leaves, and we make a comparison of the actual wine leaf automatically. So it compares the characteristics, the time series, quote unquote, with the database, and then finds actually what kind of grape this is from the leaf. And in this case, for example, it's Cabernet Franc, which is a red wine grape. And this is just the beginning of it. But we will do many more things there, also automatic recognition of diseases for plants and other things. Let me go to the next department, the Department of AI, and especially the Neural Information Processing Group by Andras Lörins. And he's working about human-centered AI. So what he's doing is, for example, automatic search for face markers and speech emotions. So in this animated slide, animation doesn't work. Oh, no. Okay, here's a small animation. So in this animation, you can see automatically that contours in the face are recognized, and from the relationship of those contours to each other, you can detect emotions. So if you're smiling, then your mouth has a different location than when you're not smiling, and you can find this through Andrus's work. You can also estimate where somebody is looking to understand the intention. So gaze tracking. So where are the eyeballs pointing at? And another thing is that we do with the Graz Technical University is understanding the pose of a hand, and also well, draw conclusions out of that. We use smart glasses actually to track own focus of attention, but also the other person. So, there's a camera in the glasses on both sides actually. So actually monitoring the other person speaking and the own person. For example, this is the gaze of the own person who's wearing the camera, and whereas this is the analysis of the other person. And from this we draw a conclusion actually how an interaction works and how to interpret it. We do also augmented reality games. Actually, here's a game of navigation in a corridor, in a surface, and we do also scene analysis of people who are interacting with each other in a room and trying to understand actually what the gesture means and how they relate to each other in a communication. This is we analyze actually people who have to solve a task in a game and draw a conclusion from that, how the person comes to a problem solution. Another thing that we do is called telepresence, which is for handicapped people who can actually express themselves through this mobile phone, through this display, by using their gaze that is tracked, and also their words that are hard to understand for people who are not familiar with the vocabulary of this handicapped person, but it can be interpreted and then displayed on this camera, and vice versa. The input through this mobile device can also can be converted to the handicapped person to understand it. What we also do is, together with Bosch, is actually analyze the behavior of a driver in a car, but also of the people in the back seat. So it's also an analysis of the driving situation. And what we also do with Volkswagen is actually analyzing robots and preventing them to do harm. So trying to analyze anomaly in the behavior of robots, so to prevent accidents. So this is it in a nutshell, and the department of AI is also very strong in education. You see methods and tools for AI applications, effective computing, AI robotics, also a lab, methods and tools for AI applications, neural networks, machine learning, AI in processes and automation, natural language processing, and also representation theory is done by this department. Here's an example of a project in this department for diagnosing autistic children. Together with the Rush Medical College in Chicago, we make an analysis where children have to perform certain tasks. They are analyzed, and you can see diagnose actually if autism can be a problem. Like this, many more tests can be done that otherwise could only be done by very few specialists who are very, very hard to get. So the research here goes towards analyzing behavior, and then have a machine analysis of this, that autism might be a problem here. And then also the therapy will be related to this. So for this, we recognize poses, gestures of hand, body, and head, facial expressions, speech, prosody, and text, the interaction with the device, objects and manipulations, emotion and sentiment analysis, which is automized. This goes through a sensor fusion. So we have visual cues through a camera. We also have an acoustic subnetwork that analyzes acoustics. And we also transform speech to text and then analyze also the text in parallel and come to a classification schema that can give actually a recommendation actually about autism, about detected autism. And the goal is also to treat autism early in the life. The next center is the Center for IT Research and Education, where it's more software technology what we are doing there. I give you two examples before the time runs out, actually, about work that we do together with Ericsson. Ericsson is a telecommunications company. I mentioned them before, and we work on one thing is software technology, but also on use cases for 5G networks and edge computing, which means cloud computing over 5G networks. But we cooperate also with medical companies like Medisolab, electrocardiogram signal processing, but also smart data analysis with SAP, with companies like SAP. There we teach also the software technology lab, which gets 16 credits, but students, this lab is quite interesting if you're looking also for industry cooperation as a student during your student times, not during research times, but really during student times, where you can participate as a student in university industry projects during your classes. Actually, you can even get credits for this. And two of the examples that I will show you now can be actually also participated by students. One is the code compass and one is the code checker. Code checker is a static source code analysis tool for C and C++ programs, and we have developed it together with Ericsson in the software technology lab. And you must imagine a programmer is writing code, and we are doing a static analysis of the written code as a quality assurance process, and after that make a manual code review and then make a test. Here's actually how it works in a bit more detail, but if you want to know the real details, you have to go to this GitHub link. So it's this code checker actually checks dependencies and potential vulnerabilities of your code by just using your code. So it's not dynamic, so you don't compile your code and then check it, but it just looks at your source code and checks dependencies and anomalies and things like this, and then gives a recommendation that you should change something or not change something. So typically, if you work for a company like Ericsson or Google or another company, you're part of a software project where millions of lines of code are written, and many mistakes can appear there. And having a code checker like this that runs, for example, after your day of work overnight, checks all of the code and then comes up with some recommendations is very helpful. And our code checker is so well known that even Google, Mozilla, Apple, and Samsung are using them. So we're very proud of this code checker. So we have 42 contributors actually, and it's run by Deep Tech in California and also used in education by the Wright University in the US. Another thing is the code compass. Actually, this is another use case. It's also another tool. It's actually a help how to navigate through millions of lines of code. So it's not a code checker, but it shows to you actually when you're going through a line of code and you have a class or something like this, you want to investigate it, you're linked automatically to those class if you click on it. And of course, many more important things can be done that are very crucial actually in trying when you try to understand a huge text. For example, 40 million lines of code. So this is possible. So in this project that we work together on, we have 40 million lines of code, and you cannot really just understand the code by just reading one line after the other, but you have to use something like this code compass. And we have 300 to 400 users, among which 10% are very active. Now, as the last thing, I want to quickly make a quick overview, also given in the interest of time, a very quick overview of the Colocation Center. I just mentioned this. It's in Bogdanfi, Uza. It's the other location, this creative space where we meet together with companies, but also have public meetings. Sometimes we organize researchers' night where you can also visit us. Girls in ICT, so different formats, and possibly for our open days we would have met also there if it would not be for COVID. We are part of a European network, ELTE Digital, which is connected to the major hotspots like Berlin, Stockholm, London, Paris, in Europe. And this is a vivid place of exchange, not only university and industry, but also cross-country borders. And we also teach there. We have teachings there. So in the Faculty of Computer Science, you can even learn about business fundamentals, innovative business management, and innovation entrepreneurship basics. But also more than that, in the social aspects of entrepreneurship, innovation lab and the business development lab. Business development lab is very interesting. So there you learn actually in a 2-semester journey how to create a real product out of an idea. You can come with your own idea and then team up with people and develop this idea, or take ideas that come from our network that needs further development. It's really hands-on and live and creating something new. And it's actually highly attractive, and people enjoy this also if you're not only after the core computer science as a competence, but also creating innovation out of this. And with this, I come to the end. What I would like to point that you also run summer schools. Most of the years a different topic. We had summer schools on blockchain, on many other aspects, but this year it will be data science for financial problems. It will be in July. It will be in Budapest. If COVID doesn't come against this. And in the past, we usually had, it was like 2 weeks summer schools, mainly in Budapest in the Colocation Center, but also with a weekend at Balaton, in Balatonfüred. And it's highly popular, actually. I think this is the location in Balatonfüred, the Anna Hotel. Okay. So this brings me to the end of my presentation. So I hope you could enjoy the participation. Probably it will be hard to answer questions, but if you're still there and would like to ask questions, I'm still there. Although you might be have to be going away for other talks. So, but at least if you don't ask questions, I will stop talking and wish you actually best of luck in your future interaction with ELTE, and feel free to communicate with ELTE through your known channels, actually, if you're interested in further information.